Another breaking news story that's sad, that led to grief, but it's definitely sad. I'm going to share my screen. You can see a little bit of it now, and then I'll come back.
And we begin with breaking news out of the west side of Detroit, where 5 family members have been sent to the hospital, all of them with gunshot wounds. Detroit police say there was a fight between family members and then things escalated into a full-on shootout. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Hillary Goulston.
And I'm Dave Spencer. We are learning more now about the conditions of those multiple victims. Fox 2's Camille Mary joins us live from the scene. Camille, so much to unpack here. Where to start?
Yeah, 2 people, though, are critical condition and 3 in temp serious. But let's talk about what happened. Let's rewind the clock back to yesterday. And that's what led up to all this is a family member died after a long-term illness. She was an elderly woman. And then today, all the family members were together trying to discuss logistics after a passing, what to do as far as funeral arrangements go, where to have the body taken, when all of a sudden chaos broke out, a physical altercation, then a shooting. We know right now, as I said at the top, that 2 brothers in their 50s in critical condition, and then 3 women who are also family members. One of them, the wife of one of the brothers, and then also a niece who was in her 20s, also in the hospital. Now, the Assistant Chief Fitzgerald talks about this way better than I can. So I want you to listen to what he has to say in his own words.
Okay, I'm going to pause it for a moment before I get there. A lot of times, I know you may be thinking this is uncommon. Everybody should be getting along after the death of the mom. But a lot of times, this is very common. Emotions are high. And unfortunately, high emotions, charged emotions in a time of grief can lead to a dangerous situation because the grief is already painful. They're already scared, not knowing what's going to happen. The mom is gone. And although the brothers seem to be in their 50s or maybe a little older, maybe a little younger, emotions are highly charged. So this can happen in a host of scenarios. We don't know the particular scenario in this case, but it's sad nevertheless. Instead of planning and preparing for the homegoing of the mom, chaos break out. You know, when these situations happen, I try and tell people all the time, it is best to try and de-escalate the situation. Don't get in a full-blown argument with anyone while you're trying to be in the planning stages, because everybody's having feelings, everybody's having emotion, everybody is dealing with the pain and the loss of a loved one. So it's best to take a deep breath and step back, maybe allow the others to vent, and then come together and say, hey, mom would be so proud if we came together and did this or that. That wasn't the case in this scenario. And unfortunately, it left to 5 people being shot and hospitalized. And we are definitely praying that they're okay. So I'm going to go back and let you listen to a little bit more of the story, and then I'll come back with my input.
Sounds like it started with the 2 brothers in a physical altercation. Gun falls out of the one brother's waistband. Another brother picks it up, fires a shot. Others return fire to defend that person. And even when the original officers, the responding officers arrived at scene, they were still fighting on the front lawn. One of the family members had a broom, hit another family member with the broom.
Okay, so right now we know that there was also a person who was inside the house. This all happened outside, but who was inside the house, who was suffering from a stroke, who is recovering from that. Police worried that he could have maybe been hit in this, but he's okay. And then also a bullet hit another house. Luckily, no one was hit. Right now, it's kind of a hectic situation because someone walked up. He actually walked up to us first and then to police because he's trying to get to his house back there. He screamed.
You know, unfortunately, this may even lead to additional problems because they're gunfire. So we don't even know if once they're out of the hospital, if they're going to even be able to attend their mom's funeral. This is truly unfortunate, and hopefully it can be a lesson to us all because we're all going to face this. We're all going to face the loss of a loved one. We're all going to have to deal with once in a lifetime planning a funeral, planning services. So if this can do nothing else but teach us a lesson to try and de-escalate, somebody have to step back, you know, maybe allow everybody to vent or voice their concerns and then come back to the table and say something like, mom would be proud if we can do this together. And somebody have to have a level head. Somebody have to have a level head. So let's go back and finish the story and I'll be back with you.
Screaming at police. Police are trying to get him to calm down. He doesn't appear to be related to all of this, but still kind of adding to the stress and the chaos of this scene. But for now, that's what's going on. Of course, we're going to stay on top of this and bring you the latest information as soon as we get it. Reporting live, Camila Mary, Fox 2 News.
Yeah, Camille, whenever you're dealing with these domestic situations, we know emotions can run high.
So
do we know if the family members who were not injured are cooperating with the investigation at this point?
Well, again, interesting. And also, too, I didn't even tell you where this was. This is in Detroit, Sussex and Linden. Again, I apologize for kind of the chaos. You can probably hear the screaming behind me. But we do know that one of the people arrested, a woman, is also believed to be a family member. But who shot who? One of the people who shot is in the hospital, but police still trying to sort it all out. Just a very chaotic, messy scene. And again, this with this neighbor arguing with police is not helping matters at all.
Okay.
Yeah,
Dave and Hillary, back.
This is truly unfortunate. When they should be planning a mom's funeral and it break out to total chaos. And like I say, feelings of being highly charged emotionally, it is absolutely normal. It is absolutely normal. When we've lost the matriarch of the family or one of the matriarchs of the family, emotions are going to be high. But if love can override and realize what you're there for, hopefully that can lead to a better outcome. A lot of times people are trying to balance their emotions. They feel unsafe. We don't know if someone lived with the mother or what the situation was. But people often resist change. And sometimes how they resist change show up in their behavior. Sometimes, like I say, don't know about this particular situation. But sometimes if alcohol is involved, if drugs or anything are involved, it is going to lead to total chaos. So we have to do everything in our power to de-escalate situations when we're faced with this. It takes a lot to navigate the family when something like this happens. It takes a lot to navigate when the death of a loved one is there, especially if everyone is not cooperating. This happens more often than not. It happens in everyday life. So imagine when somebody passes away. If this kind of thing can happen in everyday life, if you don't have any coping skills, imagine it happening when the loss of a loved one. I remember when my dad passed away, I was so thankful that me and my siblings, we worked together and we were together every day during the planning stage. And I remember one particular time we were planning the particular names and of the relatives and things we were going to put on the obituary. And one of my sisters threw out a name and I was like, no, I don't want them on there. And after she left, I was instantly convicted. And I called and said, you know what? I'm so sorry. I was in my feelings because I thought that person wasn't around enough and things like that. I was in my feelings. I'm so sorry. And I'm so thankful, and I'm not saying that to put us on a high pedestal, but I'm so thankful that we have that temperament because my dad always emphasized for us to be close with each other. And we have just that. So we work together well. His homegoing services was very well. And we've just been loving on each other ever since. But unfortunately, that's not everyone's testimony. It definitely wasn't in this situation, which is sad. Emotions charged. So we're definitely going to be praying for that family. But I just want to leave you with a few things that may can help in this situation. Remember, first of all, not coping will definitely lead to fights, lashing out, sometimes irrational behavior. And sometimes we don't know if mental health is involved in some of these circumstances. Sometimes mental health can be involved. So that there's a host of factors that can intensify this type of behavior. But somebody have to have the wherewithal to try their best to de-escalate. Don't mean it'll happen in every situation, but somebody have to take that step to try and de-escalate. I tell people all the time when emotions are highly charged, let's take a step back. Allow the person to vent without intervening and trying to immediately step in. So sometimes that works, sometimes it don't. But we have to try something so it won't lead to this outcome. Common conflicts absolutely will trigger family issues. They're going to arise, especially after a death. Sometimes people have to deal with the managing of the will. That in itself can be stressful. Not having a will can be stressful. When is the appropriate time to start dividing up assets? All of this can be stressful. The type of care, if there was a surviving spouse, what are we going to do now? All of that can be stressful. But it didn't have to evolve in something like this. Family members um, that behave this way, sometimes they're unreasonable. I'll say again and again, I don't know these circumstances. I'm only reporting on it because grief is just such a touchy time because of the pain that's involved, because of the agony, because of the anxiety of not knowing what am I going to do now when mom's gone. I don't have the phone to pick. I can't pick up the phone anymore and call her. All of those feelings are valid. End of life arguments can happen. Funeral arrangements. A lot of times people disagree. That can happen. Custody arrangement. It's just a host of things that can lead to this. But when we know better, we have to do better. So that's what I'm speaking to those that wasn't involved in this. When we know better, we have to do better. When at all possible, create a living will. Create a will so that when this come about, it may not lead to these type of outcomes. Now, sometimes even discussing the will can be a little touchy. Somebody's going to always feel left out, even if they were put in. They're going to feel left out, or they're going to feel like they should have gotten more. Losing a loved one is difficult enough, but when things like this happen, it just makes it worse. So emotions elevate the planning process. Sometimes there are financial issues. Sometimes the person that passed away may not have finances. I don't mean in this instance. I mean in other instances. May not have the finances. So then the loved ones that's left have to decide, how are we going to do this? Are we going to divvy it up? How are we going to have enough money to have funeral services? Sometimes money is there to plan the funeral, and then you have people arguing over them how much they're going to get after the service is over. How are we going to divide this up? If I can admonish you to do anything, do some planning so that your loved ones won't have to have this part to fight about, because emotions will already be high. You know, I think about when my dad passed a few years ago. My mom would often call me and she'll tell me, "Your dad keep talking about death and things he want. I don't want to have this conversation." And I let her vent, and I told her, "Mom, you have to be able to let him make peace." He felt like he was leaving here. He wanted to make peace with her. So this is diving into a little different part of what I started out about. But since I'm all things grief recovery, I have to talk about it all. So if you know someone is toward the end of their life, or they have an illness that says, hey, this is going to be the end, allow that person to get their piece out. Allow that person to talk it out, because sometimes that's therapy for them. Because most of the time they want to know that they're leaving their loved ones in the best hand possible. They want to know that they're leaving wisdom to their loved ones. They want to give them everything that's on their heart before they leave here. Allow them that. Yes, the conversation is uncomfortable, but allow it to be comfortable for the one that's about to leave here. That's what you can give them. So, what else do I want to tell you? Sometimes the survivors isn't necessarily wanting to figure things out in the best way possible. Sometimes they want to be chaotic. Even small decisions can become big issues. So remember that when you're dealing with loved ones. Remember that when you have siblings, when you have other people involved, they have valid feelings too. So just consider one another's feelings when this happens. It's usually because they don't know how to cope with what they're feeling at that moment. But remember this, as I get ready to end this live: failure to plan will lead to chaos every time. When a family member began to disagree after the death of a loved one, tensions are definitely going to be high. It's usually because they're forced to make sensitive decisions, whether financially, whether what are we going to do with the house, whatever it is. Tensions are going to be high. But if everyone can try and remain calm and de-escalate, then you can get through it. So I'm going to leave you with this. For all you out there that are grieving for whatever reason, whatever loss you've gone through, whether it's the loss of a loved one, whether it's a divorce, whether it's a loss of finances, whatever it is, remember this scripture, Psalms 34:18. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted, and he saves the crushed in spirit. This shows that God is close to our pain, because he's experienced every ounce of pain that we can experience. And he went through it so that he can know how we feel. But he's right there waiting on you to surrender to him so that the healing process can begin. So until the next time, I hope you got something out of this, and I hope you'll be planning ahead of time. But remember this also. Let's pray for this family that they'll get through this and that they'll begin the healing process and they'll reach out to God and he'll reach back out to them.